Do you know how to network? You won't want to miss today's Leadership Voice. Welcome to the Leadership Voice. I'm your host, Jay Barbuto. Today's show features the skill of networking. Joining us today will be Terry Goldfarb, former Senior Director of Development at Resource Global Professionals, and Jeff Black, partner, McDermott Bull Executive Search Firm. Two incredible networkers that will share the importance of and tips for networking. We also have a special leadership lesson being delivered by Professor David Obstfeldt. But let's start things off right now with today's quote of the day. Today's quote comes as an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. Our first guest today on the Leadership Voice is Terry Goldfarb. During her 20-year tenure with RGP, Terry played a critical first ever business development role for the company, paving the way for RGP to grow from a startup founded as part of Deloitte to the globally publicly traded company it is today. She was named one of the hottest 25 people in Orange County, has been involved in over 40 nonprofit, philanthropic, business and education organizations over the course of her career, for which she helped raise millions of dollars and has been talked about or featured in 3 books. Terry was hired by RGP because of her Rolodex, but she brought so much more to those she's worked with, worked for, mentored, counseled, supported, and championed. Always intent on making a difference, she is not just a networker, but a connector and a relationship builder. And by the way, she had a series on the Mickey Mouse Club. So, it is with great pleasure to welcome to the Leadership Voice, Terry Goldfarb.
Oh, Jay, thanks so much. I am thrilled to be here. This is so much fun.
It's so great to have you on the show. I've known you now for several years, and when we started producing the Leadership Voice, in the back of my mind, I always thought, at some point, we're going to have you on here to talk about networking. So I'm so glad that today is that day.
Well, thank you. This is fun. Looking forward to it.
Terrific. So why don't we start by if you could share a little bit about your different roles that you've had during your career.
Sure, happy to. I mentioned one of the very first roles I ever had was a tour guide and a VIP hostess at Disneyland, and that's important. I moved on from there to have a sales job for Palm Stationers for a short period of time. That's important. Moved on from there to Coopers & Lybrand, now PwC. Sorry, backtrack. Orange County Business Council first, then PwC, and then moved on from there to O'Shea Devine, an executive search firm. And lastly, the last 20 years have been spent at Resources Global Professionals, also known as RGP.
Terrific. So could you talk about the role that networking has played in your career?
Yeah, it's been huge. My first job at Disneyland, every job I've ever had is a result of somebody I knew. Really never had to look for a job. My dad worked for Disney. Walt told me that when I graduated high school, I could go to work at Disneyland. Done. Check that box. That was a huge opportunity for me because I made so many friends, and we all have stayed connected and have interacted socially and professionally over the years, and it's been integral. My next job was at Palm Stationers because I was at a picnic with one of my Disneyland alums, and I was newly divorced and newly re-entering the workforce. And she said, come work for me. Okay, that was that job. She taught me so much. I never wanted to be in sales. That was not anything I ever wanted to do. She said, I've got your back. This will be good. She was right, and I owe her gratitude, just tons of thanks. While I was there, the Orange County Performing Arts Center started getting off the ground. Although I didn't actually work there, I wound up becoming a volunteer as a result of another Disneyland tour guide who said, hey, there's this organization and they're starting to fundraise, and since you love the arts, maybe you should go get involved. I firmly believe in doing things you're passionate about, and I'm passionate about the live arts. So I went in with gusto and had so much fun. In the process, I was also had a girlfriend just in my network that tapped me. She was retiring from the Orange County Business Council and needed to replace herself, and she wanted to turn in my resume. So one of the people on my team at the Performing Arts Center was the chairman of the board of the Business Council. So I asked him, I said, is this a role that I would be a fit for? And he looked at me, he said, the job is yours. I mean, another gift, just another gift. While I was there for 3 years, and then I was recruited away to PwC by somebody I'd met in a networking organization, and she had asked me to come on board to replace her as she moved on to her next job. And then I spent 8 years there. They did a major reorg, so I, for the first time, was in between jobs and in transition, a new experience. Went to a friend of mine that's a recruiter to ask for some advice, and he basically hired me. Was not ever intending to be an executive recruiter, but I turned out to really enjoy that and was very content and happy to be there. And actually, we had talked about me maybe buying his business at some point. While I was happily there, another friend called me and said, hey, a partner at Deloitte is starting a company that's going to spin out, go public, and grow. They're looking for somebody that has your background. You've got to go talk to him. And I wound up there for 20 years.
And that was at Resource Global's professional.
Unbelievable, yeah. I am blessed beyond measure. But it's all through people that I've been involved with in organizations or other jobs, every single situation.
So it's clear that networks have played
Yep.
a central part of your career trajectory. So,
And I bless it.
now you've spent the last 20 years in business development space.
Correct.
So there's lots of folks that might watch the show that might be aspiring business development folks that want to become business development professionals. What advice would you have for a young business development professional that wants to become really good at this?
So anything I've ever been involved with, it was like, how can I have an impact? First of all, I always have done my due diligence and do your homework about the people, places, things that you're going to be targeting or getting involved with. Be smart about it. Do homework about the people that you're looking to meet. Understand who they are. Read their LinkedIn. Google them. I mean, you can find out so much about people. If you have people that know them, ask questions so that when you meet people, you're really knowledgeable about them. One of the key things about business development is people love to talk about themselves. And if you start asking people questions about their career and how did you get here and what do you love about this place, they will take it from there. You don't have to talk a lot. And you'll learn even more about them, and they'll think you are wonderful because you're interested in them. And the key word here is you really need to be interested in them. You need to care about them and be really interested in them. And that will come across. If you're sincere and you have that personal integrity and warmth about that, it won't come across as a drill session. It will come across like, wow, you are really amazing.
So your advice to a young business development professional is to start building their network and
Right.
start developing relationships.
So start building your network, get people into your database immediately and into your LinkedIn. And then the next important thing is to nurture those databases or those contacts and keep in touch. And the way to do that is basically to, every time you meet someone, get them into the database, put notes into the database because you're not going to remember everything. As you read or learn new things, add them to the database so you can refresh your memory before you see them or meet with them again. And then compartmentalize. That's how I've been able to maintain kind of a massive database and contact list. I have my Disneyland group of friends. I have my PricewaterhouseCoopers group of friends. I have my Segerstrom Center for the Arts group of friends. And every year, I have an email that I send out to each different group saying, gosh, would love to see you guys. Let's meet for pizza. Let's meet for wine. Let's meet for a walk around Balboa Island. And whoever shows up, shows up. And you've touched all of them by the email. And the people that show up, great. And sometimes it's a lot, and sometimes it's a few, but it doesn't matter. You've managed to stay connected every single year.
No,
that's just one way.
No, that's great. And so the key to business development is to develop relationships.
Yes.
And then improve and cultivate those relationships and maintain those relationships.
And other things that you do to do that is like sending notes to people. You see their name in the paper, you've heard they've gotten a promotion, there's frequently things on LinkedIn. Don't use the automated response, write a personal response. Send articles that you see that they might be interested in. Or you think of somebody that, gosh, you should meet this person. You guys would have a lot in common. Make an introduction. Actively do things to stay, to cultivate that relationship.
You've had a wonderful career, and you've learned a lot of things during your career. Could you share with our audience some things or something that you wish you had known at the beginning of your career that you have learned during your career? The kind of, if you could go back and share with yourself, something you wish you had known when you were beginning your career.
Well, fortunately, growing up, I was involved with a lot of important people. So I did learn to be more relaxed around those kind of people, but still it could be intimidating. And for people that didn't have that exposure, being around people that you're trying to meet or to rub elbows with can be intimidating. And so, get to know stuff about them so you can get them talking. And that takes a lot of pressure off you. And then have some key questions always ready to ask some key people, like, how did you come into this field? What was your education? What would you advise someone like me if I wanted to move forward in this, or if I wanted to get more involved in this organization? Have an arsenal of questions whenever you go into any kind of a meeting like that, and do your due diligence. Do your homework about the person, the company, or whatever it is. And then just relax. Try to kind of relax and have fun with it. That makes it more interesting for the people you're talking to as well.
So preparation is a big part of success in relationship building and networking and in business development.
And of course, when I was growing up, we didn't have LinkedIn and Google and all of that stuff, so it was a little harder to do. Now it's so fabulous to be able to arm yourself before you go out there, whatever you're doing and however you're doing it.
Oh, terrific. So if you were giving advice to somebody specific to networking, somebody says, I want to become a great networker. I don't know how. I want to be a great networker. What advice would you give to somebody? And part of it, we've heard a little bit of it already. But what advice would you give to somebody that wants to become a really good networker?
Get involved with things you're passionate about. Choose a couple of different areas. Maybe a civic organization, a philanthropy that you're passionate about, maybe a family member has been touched by, or a cause that you're passionate about, the environment, sustainability. Maybe it's an industry trade group that you're, to further your trade, and that's what your passion is. Whatever it is, do things that you're passionate about. That's where your energy will be. That's where your contagiousness will be. That's where you will naturally have things in common with other people. So any networking event you go to should be pretty easy. You should have things in common with them. Also, I encourage people to go to Toastmasters classes and learn to be comfortable speaking, whether it's just in front of a few people or a small group or a large group. That practice will serve you for your whole career. And then there's a book called The Art of Small Talk. And although we don't like, quote, small talk, that provides you with some arsenal of questions, of ways to start conversations and questions to ask that will put you at ease until it becomes more natural.
Oh, those are some great tips for folks that want to become great networkers. We're going to have Q&A in a little while, and we're going to have you back for that, along with our other guest, Jeff. I want to thank you for being on the show. I'll shake your hand now, but you will be back. And so we want to thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom with our audience.
My pleasure.
And now it's time for a featured segment of the Leadership Voice. It's today's Did You Know? Today's Did You Know comes from Virgin.com. 85% of jobs are filled through networking, but only 11% of LinkedIn users have more than 100 people in their network. This means that if you are waiting for jobs to get posted, then you are only having access to 15% of the job opportunities that will exist. It also means that if your LinkedIn profile is like an abandoned warehouse, you are also missing out on a primary form of job networking. It's now time for today's Leadership Countdown. Today's show is all about networking. So with the help of Entrepreneur.com, we bring you the 5 steps to seriously improve your networking skills. Or, as it is affectionately called, the No BS Guide to Networking. Stage 1 is to get in the right mindset. Remove notions of work and opportunity from your head, and instead focus on building and creating genuine friendships. So find things in common and keep it light. Stage 2 is to know your destination. So many aimlessly go about business and networking without really knowing what their goals, long-term, mid-term, and short-term. If you know what you want and have goals in advance, you will be much better prepared to make things happen when you network. Stage 3 is to set up your map once you have your goals. It's time to think about 3 people that can either kickstart or accelerate your goal attainment. It could be a mentor or advisor or an advocate, but you should have people in mind, or at least roles in mind, that can make your goals take flight. Stage 4 is to build a human connection. You can do this by asking insightful questions, ask better questions, and pay attention to the other person. Be curious, because the more the other person senses your sincere curiosity, the more likely they will be to open up and form a meaningful connection. Or if it helps, to make it seem even easier, just do this. Listen, ask good questions, and repeat. Stage 5 is to start super connecting. The fast way to grow your own network is to introduce 2 people who can benefit from each other. To become a super connector, follow these quick rules. Don't keep score. Make friends, not contacts. Connect other super connectors. Interview people. Follow up. If you follow these 5 stages of networking, you too can become a master networker. We have Jeff Black in the studio, so we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Well, we found here at Honda Center and Anaheim Ducks that the Center for Leadership brings expertise in doing research, in doing training. The faculty that has come and given the training to our employees does all the research themselves. They're not pulling this information off the shelf. They're out there researching themselves, talking from firsthand experience, and it brings such a level of competency that we, again, don't find from other trainers that are on the market.
Well, simply put, is what really differentiates and distinguishes Fullerton and the Center for Leadership really is your expertise. You guys are able to create customized content for our business based on true research.
The faculty from Cal State Fullerton, obviously they're professors of their field. They have deep knowledge and research, but also, aside from the theory, they really bring in some practical examples, and they bring in a lot of interactive activities.
The Bringing Learning to Work initiative is our way of meeting the needs of Orange County businesses and communities. When our clients ask the Center for Leadership to come to bring learning to work, the clients know that they're getting cutting-edge information, the latest thinking in the field, but they're also getting world-class training. Welcome back to the Leadership Voice. Our next guest today is Jeff Black, the longest tenured consultant in the firm since 2003. Jeff retains search practice, nicknamed the Fit Practice, focuses on helping companies realize an ideal fit between executive talent and the company's culture and values. His clients include Goodwill Industries, Scooters Coffee, Honda Center, Anaheim Ducks, Panda Restaurant Group, Niagara Bottling, Decurion, ArcLight Cinemas, Pride Industries, OC United Way, and Golden State Foods. He's earned a BA in Business Management and an MBA in Finance from Cal State Fullerton. Jeff and his wife Laura have been married for 38 years with 2 adult daughters and currently reside in Yorba Linda, California. He serves on the board of directors of 10C, on the advisory board for the Center for Leadership at Cal State Fullerton, and on the advisory board for the Institute for Community Impact. Jeff founded Difference Makers OC to create relationships among successful professionals who seek a balance between business success and making a difference, supporting nonprofit and charitable causes. Without further ado, please welcome Jeff Black.
Thanks, Jay. It's really a pleasure to be here. It's also a pleasure to be on the same show with Terry, my longtime friend.
Yep, I know we've had the two of you to campus in the past together, and so when we thought we were going to do an episode on networking, it was a very natural thought to have the two of you on together.
It's also nice to be back at Cal State Fullerton after it's been a little while since I went to school here.
That's right, because Jeff Black is a 2-time alumni, a 2-time Titan.
There you go.
A Titan squared, if there is such a thing. Well, maybe we could kick things off and you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your career progression through the major jobs that you've had.
Sure. Starting from when I was in school, I was here at Cal State Fullerton. I was 1 year away from finishing my bachelor's, and I needed a summer job. So my father worked at a big company in town called Hughes Aircraft Company, and he was able to get me an opportunity to work, to get a summer job in an industry that was growing at a rapid pace. And I ended up doing I worked part-time for that first year, and it turned into a 23-year job. I never planned that. I never anticipated that I was going there to stay. But 23 years later, after many, many changes of roles, through multiple, as an individual contributor, then as a leader of people, and then as a leader of businesses within the organization. When I left, I was a vice president and leader of a business within the services company of a large multinational defense company called Raytheon after they acquired Hughes Aircraft. In my mid-40s, I decided to leave. Kind of an unconventional move after 23 years in one job, although multiple roles. And I left my job pretty much cold turkey, which was a very unconventional thing to do. And I didn't know what I was going to do, and I met people in the business community, and I started to understand what it was like to find a path. And I was asked to join an executive search firm, and I didn't really know what executive search was about when I was considering that. And I realized really quickly that it was going to be an opportunity to learn everything that I'd ever wanted to know about the business world. So I joined McDermott & Bull Executive Search in the beginning of 2003. I'm in my 17th year with the firm. I'm a partner in the firm. And for 17 years, I've been serving clients and building relationships and having networking be kind of a centerpiece of just about everything I've ever done.
So you're a 2-career guy.
Really true.
And with 2 very different careers.
Yeah, there was nothing similar about working in a corporate environment and working as a consultant. Nothing similar at all.
So some people may have perceptions of what an executive recruiter does. Could you talk a little bit about what is the role of an executive recruiter and how it may be different or similar to perceptions?
The nature of the business is really to be a consultant for the client. It's a professional consulting role. It's a little bit more like the role of a CPA or a lawyer for a company than it is like a staffing agency that's just pushing people in front of a client. It's a real consulting role. So what the nature of what we do is a client will engage us to do a project to help them fill a key role. And there's probably no more vulnerable time for an organization than when they're trying to add key leaders to their organization. It's very high leverage outcomes involved. So they really have to be able to trust the counsel and the guidance that they receive from their search consultant. So the role is keeping the client confident and then engaging with candidates who could potentially fill roles for that company and helping them make the big life decisions associated with deciding to leave what they're doing successfully today to join a new company. So that's the people may perceive this as a quick transaction, but when in reality it's a complex consulting relationship on both sides, with the client and with the candidates.
And so success in the industry is much more about having long-standing relationships, more so than one-off, quick fills.
It so much is, because there's so much confidence that's necessary and so much trust that's necessary in the relationships. So long-term, strong relationships, the clients that you mentioned that I've done business with, these are folks I've known, and many of them I've done business with for 7, 8, 10 years. Things last for a long time because it's really kind of based on trust.
And so if you're doing your job well in that relationship, anytime they have a senior level position, they come and they say, we have this new opportunity that we're going to be looking to fill.
Yes.
Maybe you can help us with this one too.
Yeah, that's right, Jay. That's exactly how it works. And that's the ideal scenario. A consultant loves it when their clients have confidence in them. But you know what happens is it's also a different project every time, because it's a different role. It impacts the organization differently. The folks inside the organization that are affected are different. It's almost like telling a different story, except for the foundational principles of the companies themselves.
So maybe you could talk about the role that networking has played in your trajectory, or specifically how networking has helped you in your job.
It's central. There's nothing else that was more important. After all these years, I think the reason that I'm known in Orange County is because I'm a guy that tends to know a lot of people. I don't know if I can quite keep up with Terry, but I know quite a few people, and that network has become extremely valuable. What I didn't realize early on is how important that network would be and how valuable everybody that I met could potentially be. So networking has been central to the success of this career, and arguably just about any other career.
And I think that's terrific. And I think people see that because people who see you at events, whenever I've been at events with you, there's always lots of folks that are either mutual friends or people that I need to know that you already know. And so I have experienced the strength of your network firsthand in mixer kinds of settings. Maybe we could change gears just a little bit. Sure. Because there's also another piece to your networking. And Terry earlier mentioned the importance of doing things that you're passionate about. I wanted to talk a little bit about the purpose with which you have infused in your career. And could you talk a little bit about doing good and how that philosophy has really taken hold in your networking and also in your career success?
Yeah, it's a real important part of my life. And when I first got into the consulting world, I didn't know it was going to be. I didn't even know it could be. My wife and I had raised our daughters, and we were always involved in what our kids did, and that was enjoyable. But I didn't have any concept of what it was like to sit on a nonprofit board or to be involved in something like the Center for Leadership. I had the pleasure of being able to be involved in this program with you and with Terry almost from the very beginning. Right. And it's a pleasure to watch it grow into what it's become. I didn't know that was even an opportunity for me when I got started in the consulting world. But soon I realized that I was drawn to nonprofit board service. The first time I ever got to do it, around the first board table, I said, wow, this is where I want to be. I want to be around a bunch of people who are successful, but who also care about making an impact on the world, making the world a better place. And I said, these are the kind of folks with whom I want to network over the years. And what's happened is I've had opportunities to be involved in organizations, serving on boards, creating new ways for the community to advance. In the meantime, I've met a lot of extraordinary people who have been part of the growth of my business career as well, even though that was never really the stated objective. But it's extraordinary how deep and rich those relationships have proven to be.
So you've talked a lot about the role that networking and relationship building has played in the success as an executive recruiter. So maybe we could talk about what does it really take in your mind? What advice would you give somebody who wanted to become a great networker? or a great relationship builder?
Well, the most important thing is to care about other people. You can't be a networker by taking. You can't expect to get things from everybody that you meet. If that's the only goal, nobody's going to want to have much to do with you. You really need to care about others. You need to be curious. You need to be fascinated with what you can learn from everybody and every environment. There's so much of an opportunity to learn and grow with everybody that you meet. If you look at networking that way, it provides an opportunity to first learn and grow, but second, it provides an opportunity to allow people to feel really excited about the fact that you're interested in them. People want to help people who they like. Unless you can help people like you, they're not going to want to be motivated to help you. And the easiest way, the most effective way to get people comfortable with you and make them like you is to be genuinely interested in them.
Well, that's great advice, and it parallels a lot of what Terry said earlier.
Yes.
About making genuine connections with people, caring about the people around us. Mm-hmm. And so networking is not a short 15 to 20 minute mixer, but it's much more of a journey, isn't it?
It's not a transaction. It's not a series of transactions. You don't network to check boxes on a list. You build relationships to enrich yourself and to allow yourself to enrich others and to become part of a community. It's a holistic experience, and I think there's an opportunity for everybody to grow and be enriched and become stronger simply because of everything that they've learned and the folks that they've come to know. And those folks will become important parts of their lives from the earliest days. I would encourage students to be excited about what they can learn about their network and how they can build their network and capture who those people are, and remember that from the very beginning, because you just never know who's going to be who and where they're going to go.
That's great advice for our viewers, and I want to thank you for being on the show. Now we're going to have some Q&A. We're going to have some questions from our audience. You and Terry will both be back to help us with that part.
Okay, great.
Great. It's now time for the Leadership Voices Leadership Example. Today we recognize the importance of networking, so we bring you all of the world's billionaires that did it all without any help from their business, professional, or social networks. Hear that? You know what that means. It's time for today's leadership lesson. Today's leadership lesson is being delivered by Professor David Obstfeldt. So let's take 3 minutes to learn about the role that networks play in our lives.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Obstfeldt, and here is today's leadership lesson. There may never have been a time that we have talked more about social networks, and yet never has there been a time when we have been more bewildered about where to start. Today I want to talk about networks for innovation by emphasizing 4 key ideas that can bring more success to how you engage the world to innovate. First, think of your social network like an electrical circuit board. Imagine that any link you create with another person, a friend, a collaborator, a mentor, adds one electrical connection to your overall circuitry. As a sociologist, I ask 2 questions. How big or small is your network? And, as you probably imagine, big isn't necessarily better, but too small isn't good either. Second, how open or closed is your network? A closed network where everyone knows each other can make you feel comfortable and safe, but may also create an echo chamber where the same people and ideas bounce around. An open network, on the other hand, where you meet unique people who don't know other people in your network, gives you access to new ideas and opportunities. If you want to access new ideas or want to locate new opportunities, you probably have to expand your circuit board by forming new ties to new people. This gets us to my second point, the challenge of social networking, the thing that makes many people uncomfortable. The second point is, if you want to expand that circuit board to find new ideas and opportunities, you just have to reach out to new people. I call meeting people the game of 2s. Because meeting people can be difficult, I have 2 pieces of quick advice. Be prepared to take the initiative to ask questions and listen to their perspectives. Look for things that you have in common and things that you don't have in common as well, that you find interesting. Also, dismiss the voices in your head that tell you that the people you are talking to might be judging you. This almost definitely isn't true and only undermines your success. My third point, networking also involves a game of threes, a game where you are in the middle with one person on either side of you. Here's two examples. First, you create a lot of value by bringing ideas from one place to another. Second, you also create a lot of value by introducing people together. Sometimes those introductions help people out, other times they are the way that you make new innovations happen. The final point is to approach your network with a creative project in mind. That is, the specific thing you want to create in the world. It could be an entrepreneurial idea, a new innovation, or a new community initiative. Something more specific and concrete than a general life purpose or goal. If, when you enter a networking event, you enter with your creative project in mind, the burden of networking can be substantially reduced. So in summary, think about your social network circuitry and ask, where can it be more open? To open your network circuit, reach out to new people in a game of twos. Remember also the game of threes to create innovation, skilled networkers, connect people in their networks. And finally, be sure to identify your creative project to reduce stress and increase meaning when you network. I'm Dr. David Obstfeldt, and this has been today's leadership lesson.
Thank you, Professor Obstfeldt, for that insightful leadership lesson. It's now time for the Leadership Voices Q&A. Do you need some leadership advice? Well, you've come to the right place. Every show, we take questions from you, our viewers, and we answer them right here. Today we have 4 questions, 2 for each of our guests. So let's get to our Q&A. Our first question is for Terry Goldfarb, and it comes from Seth in Victorville, California. Seth asks, what would you say to someone that says they are too busy with career and family to spend time devoted to networking? I feel like I have too much already on my plate.
Good question. I think we all feel like that, but if it's important to your career, then you have to make it a priority. You don't have to do everything. Pick one thing that you really enjoy loving doing and schedule one thing a week that takes you in that direction. So if you're in a bike club, just make sure you're connecting with the people that are in the bike club. You're talking to them and you're not just writing and leaving. If you are a scuba diver, same thing. If you're in a trade organization, go to one meeting a month, whenever that monthly meeting is, or to the meeting that appeals to you if there's multiple meetings. Go to things that hold your interest, and then it won't seem like it's so overwhelming.
You know, Terry, you and I both know what it was like being professionals and having a family. Very complicated. And for students, it's going to be, they're going to go through a series of transitions in their lives. You don't always have the same amount of time available, but you always have to be moving forward. Mm-hmm. You always have to be building a network. You always have to be continuing to grow. So like my situation, I spent a lot of time involved with my kids when they were younger, and I didn't even understand what it was like to serve on a broader board. But people have to recognize that they need to blend a little of everything, and not just like take 20 years off to raise a family. Because if they do that, they're just going to get way behind. They have to build time in to stay connected.
That being said, connecting with the parents, connecting with your students is part of your networking. So if you're spending time on campus anyway, network with your colleagues on campus and your professors. You're here. You don't have to take extra, travel to take extra time. Get to know some new students. Ask them questions about themselves. Where are they going? What are they finding interesting in class? Ask your professors questions. Become friends with them. Those are part of your network.
Yep. And in some cases, it's folks that are in their careers, and it's the same thing. Get to know people that you're working with and start leveraging their networks as well.
You just never know. You never know which relationship will have an impact. You never know when lightning will strike. You just have to make sure that you're continuing to build your network.
And there's a book called Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi, and that's actually key. We all eat. Mm-hmm. Just never eat alone. Always find somebody to have a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, a glass of wine, or a beer with.
That's great advice. So our second question is for Jeff Black, and it comes from Zhang in Irvine, California. Zhang asks, I am a shy person, so when I am at networking events, I tend to stick with my colleague or friends and really don't even know how to start a meaningful dialogue with others. What advice can you give me to overcome my insecurity?
Well, the first thing that's going to be most important is to not look at a room full of people as an overwhelming mass. Think of it as a group of individuals. And then think about anybody that you're going to talk with as not the whole group, but just one person. You need to simplify it. You can't spend all the time just hanging with your friends and make progress. So you have to build some relationships. First, break it down from the whole to the individual, simplifying it. And then the way to approach somebody is almost certainly going to be, you're going to be much more successful if what you do when you approach them is to demonstrate your curiosity about what they do. What world are they in? Where do they apply their trade? What kind of work do they do? If you're shy, the easiest way to get a conversation started is to get the other person talking and not have to feel like you're overly brilliant being able to come up with a brilliant thing to say. Just show an interest. Just pay homage to all these probably more senior people that you're going to be around. Take advantage of the opportunity for them to share about themselves, which will likely prompt ideas that will come from what they say that will give you a chance to ask other questions and maybe make you feel more comfortable.
To tag on to that, you have to understand that probably 30 to 40% of the people at any networking event are there for the first time and feel exactly the same way you do. Find some people standing by themselves. Approach them. They will welcome you. That will be like easy. Number two, when you arrive, ask the people at the registration desk if one of their existing members can introduce you to some people that are involved with the organization and tell you more about it. And then maybe and ask if they can also introduce you to some other people. Ask people to introduce you to other people.
That's great advice.
It's also possible that you could go into an event to give yourself a little bit of a goal and not overwhelm yourself and say, I've got to meet the entire room. Because realistically, you're not going to. But maybe the goal is 5, or maybe you're going to be bold and say, I'm going to meet with 10 people. I'm going to talk with and learn from that many. But give yourself a goal, allowing you to feel like you're accomplishing something, and holding yourself accountable a little bit, such that you don't just stand back in the corner and be a wallflower.
And then when you meet those people, write notes on the back of their business card as you're talking to them, and send an email afterwards saying, gosh, I really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you for taking the time with me. That will establish a relationship.
That's good advice. I think a lot of people collect the cards and then lose the cards, or collect the cards and stick it in a desk somewhere.
Terry's talking about something really important. You have to recognize that everybody that you meet becomes part of your network. If they don't become part of your network because you allow it to happen, who's to blame? When you meet somebody, capture some sort of information about them, whether it's on a business card or whether somehow you look them up on LinkedIn, but you've got to probably make a list of who it is that you met so that you can follow up. Because what you want to do is start to say, I maybe met 10 people today, but they become part of what is now a network of people that know me and who I know. If you connect with those folks then, say for instance on LinkedIn, you have access to their network. You can look at who they know. And that may provide you a path to meeting somebody you need to know. But if you just let it be, I talked to somebody, that was the whole experience, you're probably missing the opportunity to follow up.
One other quick comment. One of my former colleagues was a scuba diver, and he walked into every event, and every person he started talking to, he says, do you scuba dive? That was his opening line. Great. And like, it was always a surprise. Well, no, but my brother does, or no, but my wife does, or no, but I've always wanted to, or no, but do you? I'm telling you, and then these people wind up traveling together. It's crazy. So whatever you're passionate about, ask them, gosh, have you ever done any writing or truck, whatever it is, just have a couple questions.
Do you play this sport or whatever it might be?
And you know what happens is it makes you more memorable when you've got something that you're passionate about to talk about. Because everybody meets a bunch of people and then they all seem to they become mush. It's hard to remember anybody. You got to create some memorability and something distinctive about yourself.
The same guy has a sushi restaurant matrix. Mm-hmm. And in that same conversation with people, he'll say, so what's your favorite sushi restaurant? And why? And then he says, I have a matrix if you'd like to be on it. If you'll recommend, put a recommendation on my matrix, then I'll let you have the list. I swear to God. And I mean, it's just beautiful. It's so natural for him, and it's easy, and it makes all of the networking easy, and he gets to know people.
That's terrific. So our third question is for Terry Goldfarb, and it comes from Nguyen in Westminster, California. Networking events feel like a waste of time to me. What tips can you offer someone for how to make a conversation become personally beneficial and more than just small talk?
Excellent question. First of all, again, go to organizations and meetings that you're interested in, where you have a passion about, so there is some common interest right from the get-go. And then when you walk in, ask people to introduce you to people that are involved. And then you can ask them, why are you a member? What are you finding value here? And they'll tell you, and I'm new here. What should I get involved with? How do you advise me to become more part of this? How can my skills be used? What skills do you need in the organization? And have those questions ready and loaded. I mean, write them down, put them in your pocket on a little piece of, back of a business card. Refresh your memory even in the middle of the networking event, so you don't forget the questions to ask. And then if you do that, as you build your network, if you're in any kind of sales or business development or whatever you're doing in business, you will never have to cold call. You will be starting to develop these relationships of people that you've met all along the way, and then that will make your whole career so much easier. You'll always have resources at your fingertips.
There's a reason why small talk is called small talk. It's because it's not very important. You remember that when you're at a session of any kind. The goal is to learn something. The goal is to learn about the business world, maybe for a student learning how different industries work or how somebody's career has progressed. So it's not about small talk. It's not about the weather is nice. That's meaningless. What's meaningful is, what is your world like? What can I learn about your world? Is that the kind of thing a student should be pursuing or interested in? And for professionals, everybody is just so busy. Nobody has time to waste. The only thing we ever have time for is to meet people who will enrich us, who will become part of our network and can become a valuable resource going forward. So there's a reason why it's called small talk, and it should be avoided.
And something we picked up here also is that if you don't develop your network, then you're in a business development environment, you're going to be doing a lot of cold calls.
Right, not fun.
Yeah, when I got into this business as a consultant, I had to sell what I did. And I'd never sold anything to anybody. I have no interest in making cold calls. So unless I met somebody in the marketplace, like Terry and I have known each other for the whole 16 years I've been in this business, you meet people like Terry, and Terry helps me build relationships with other folks. And I also help her build relationships with other folks. It's the only way to really build a network without feeling like you're picking up the phone and just having to call somebody that doesn't want to hear from you.
No, that's great. So we have one more question. Our fourth question is for Jeff, and it comes from Chris in Monterey Park. Chris asks, I have a two-part question. What experience in your career has made you such a good networker? And if I want to become a master networker, and I do, what experiences should I embrace early career?
When I was growing up, when I was in college, I didn't really ever think that anybody that I met would be a valuable resource for the future. If I had been conscious of that when I was in my 20s, people that were in my 20s would still be part of my network in my 60s. I would encourage everybody to start to recognize from the beginning that everybody that you meet becomes part of your story, becomes part of your network, that helps to build your future. So everybody is important. Obviously, some people may be closer to the brass ring than others, but everybody that you meet is an opportunity to learn, and it's another enhancement to our networks, and it allows us to start to build more relationships that make it more comfortable to build the next group.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I don't have a lot to add to what we've already said. I just think starting and just building the network. I think the students today are at such an advantage. I mean, LinkedIn is like part of their DNA, and that's brilliant. And so they are pretty good at automatically getting people into their LinkedIn. And then the trick is maintaining that and just staying in touch with those people somehow, even if it's once a year, a Christmas card, it doesn't matter. Somehow you need to stay in touch with the people in your database. But there's tools today that just make it so much more natural and easy, and I'm jealous. We didn't have that.
Okay, well, I want to thank you both for helping us with our Q&A questions. You both have been super insightful and have given our viewers some great things to think about and some great tips for improving in their networking skills.
Our pleasure.
Really great pleasure.
If you have a question or need advice, send us your questions here to the Leadership Voice by email, leadershipvoice@fullerton.edu, or by Twitter, @CSUF_leadership. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today's show. Today we learned about the importance of networking in our careers and businesses, but also provided some useful tips for improving your networking skills. Thank you to our guests, Terry Goldfarb and Jeff Black, for joining us today, and a special thank you to Professor David Obstfeldt for delivering today's leadership lesson. Join us each episode of the Leadership Voice as we learn more about leadership challenges across many different industries and contexts. I'm Jay Barbuto, and we'll see you next time right here on the Leadership Voice.